Hi, welcome. This is Iwona, and today I'll show you how to add a bokeh effect to your photos. Hi, the idea for today's video is to show you how to add bokeh lights in Photoshop and Lightroom, and I will be using my own bokeh lights overlays, which you can find on my website. I just have to go to for photographers and then go to editing resources and then just scroll down to find bokeh lights to use them on your photos. I'm going to start with this photo over here, and this one had a lot of likes on my website, on my social media, on my Facebook and Instagram, and a lot of people were asking about editing of this photo, and so I decided to record the whole editing. You can see where I started with, and this is the final result. And so the change, I think, is huge, and so I thought that I will just show you how I did that step by step, including colors and everything, and you can find it on my website, where you have to go to for photographers and single videos and just scroll down. If you can't see that, you could just have to change the sorting from and start sorting with the newest videos. So I left the last part of adding that bokeh lights to show you that here on YouTube. But if you want to see the whole process, you just have to go to my website. Okay, so I thought I'm going to show you first how I add my overlays to this panel on the right side, because that makes the work so much easier and faster when you have everything, all your libraries on your right side. So if you don't see those libraries, or you can't see that right panel, you just have to go to Window and Workspace and choose Photography, and that will change all those panels to have it the way I have, and I also show the libraries on the right side. To add anything to your libraries, you have to click on this little folder icon. It's going to create a new group, and you can call it, for example, I'm going to call it smoke/mist, because I don't have this yet. And I'm using invalid characters. Just gonna hit smoke. I'm going to go to my Finder and find my smoke and mist. You can do it the same way with your bokeh overlays, and then it's going to make your work so much faster. You just don't have to look for it, you just have to drag and drop it. And we're going to start with adding bokeh to this photo. So I'm going to start with bokeh number 4, and I just click on this and drag it and drop it onto my photo. Okay, so we have it like this, and then you can change the size by dragging these corners, or you can rotate it as you wish. If you already clicked this and you don't see those lines anymore, all you have to do is go to Edit and Transform, and then you can scale or rotate or anything, or you can just click Command or Control T as Transform on your keyboard, and it's going to bring back all those transform options. Okay, you can drag it and drop it wherever you want. And to be able to see anything from underneath that black background, you have to change your blending mode from normal to screen. Not every time I'm happy with the color of the bokeh that I'm putting in, and there are many ways of changing the color. I can go to adjustment layers, and I think this is the best way to do it, although I'll show you a couple different ones. So we can go to adjustment layers and click here, and you can choose either curves and levels or hue saturation. I'm going to show you that with hue saturation. And once this is created, right now it will affect all the layers underneath this one. So we have to click this little box. So that's going to click this only to the bokeh layer, so it's not going to affect the background layer. And right now you can change the color button by moving this slider. You can change the saturation of the color and the lightness and so on. Although lightness is not the best idea to go up, because it also will brighten up the background, which is right now black, so it's invisible. All right, so this is the one way to do it, because it's when you do it like this, so when you drag and drop, it's going to be applied as a smart filter, a smart layer. That's a smart object. And so even if you go to image adjustments and you add a hue saturation layer, it's also the same, also very similar in that case. If that was not a smart object, then using image adjustments will create an adjustment that is later impossible to change. Because right now it's a smart object, you can see that filter that I added here underneath. So it's right now I can click on this and I can change the settings. But if it was not a smart object, I'm going to show you how that would look if it wasn't a smart object. So if it happens that some way you add that bokeh as not as a smart object, but just as a regular layer, then it's much better to use adjustment layers rather than these adjustments from here. Because right now, if it's not a smart object, so it doesn't have that little icon in the corner, everything I do from here, from image adjustments, is going to be just applied, and I won't have any way of changing that. For example, once I change it to pink, we can't go back. I mean, I can go again and to adjustments and then try to move it back, but I won't be able to achieve the same color probably, unless I remember the settings that I applied. Okay, so this is one way to do it. This is actually not the way I do it. I got used to using Lightroom so much that for me it's so much easier to actually go to filter and camera raw filter, and then I have sliders really similar to Lightroom, and it makes it so much easier for me to change the color. So what I would do normally, I would go to camera raw filter and change that to a warmer tone. It really depends on what you're used to. Okay, there's one problem. As you can see, those bokeh lights are going all over his face, so I need to remove those, and I will use a layer mask for that. So if you're not familiar with layer masks yet, you have to create one by clicking on this square with this little circle inside, and then we're going to erase some of that by using a brush with a black color on top. So if you're wondering about what settings of my brush are actually using the first soft round brush, which I use most of the time, although sometimes when I want to use my pressure sensitivity on my pen tablet, then I actually go to one of those brushes below. But in that case, soft round will be fine. The only thing that I like to use my flow a little lower. I like to use my opacity to 100 and a little lower flow. And I did a video it's here on my channel called opacity, flow versus opacity, or opacity versus flow, where you can learn why I like to have my opacity to 100% and flow a little lower. So if you haven't seen that video, probably somewhere here in the corner, so you can add that to your list things to watch. All right, so we got that done, and I also added a few different bokeh lights, which is very simple. I just have to drag and drop whatever you want. Like I was wondering actually, whilst I was doing the video, I was wondering which one I added originally. Let me let's just choose this one maybe. No, I don't think this one would work. Which one would be the best? All right. So whatever you find will work the best for you. You can always rotate it and move it around. You can always change the color if you feel like the original color of those Bokeh lights is not what you were looking for. Then you change it to a screen, and then you add a layer mask and then remove whatever is unnecessary. I think I added a different one, but like it's art, so whatever you do is fine. Okay, so this is one way. I should also remove this from his head a little more precisely. Right, a little over here. All right, so then we have another shot, which was also quite popular on my social media. I think a lot of people like. The idea for the shot was to give the atmosphere of All Saints Day in Poland, which is like a sea of candles. It's really beautiful, and I love the atmosphere of that. And actually, I did a lot of those Bokeh lights by just shooting those candles in the night. So let's put one of those Bokeh lights. I'm going to use Bokeh number 13, and then you can change the size by dragging it. All right, and let's click OK, and then change the blending mode to screen. Okay, and again you have to create a layer mask and basically mask it out wherever is unnecessary. Over here. Okay, so because I was thinking about those candles, and usually there's quite a lot of smoke around it, so I thought like this will actually add. Let me just rotate it a little so it kind of follows the lines in the photo. So maybe I was thinking maybe adding some of that smoke or mist overlays, which are also on my website. You just have to again scroll down those editing resources and you will find smoke/mist. And I have those over here right now, and I'm going to show you how to use one of those smoke overlays. So I'm just going to drop this and drop it onto this layer. I'm also linking all those overlays in the description box below, so you don't have to look for them yourself. Alright, so I created something like this, and I'm going to change the blending mode to screen, and I see that the edge has to be removed. So I'm clicking on the layer mask again and choosing my brush. It's a soft brush, and I'm using a lower flow, so like flow around 27, because this creates a really nice and soft, and which makes the overlay nicely blend into the photo without any harsh lines. I feel like I can move this a little to the left. Okay, and I'm thinking if that was actually highlighted by those really warm orange lights, that smoke should be a little warmer. So this should be kind of warmed up. The color of this should be also warmed up by the color of the light. So we'll go to filter and camera raw. Again, you can do it the way you want. So if you're used to using hue saturation or curves or whatever, you can use your own technique to change the color of that layer. I like to use camera raw, so I'm going to just move this slider up, trying to kind of match the color of this light over here. So if I feel like it should be a little more like pink, I can add a little tint or something, and then click OK. And if it's too much, because it seems a lot of smoke, then I can change the opacity of that layer and drag it down so it's a little more transparent and it looks a little more natural. So I'm almost done with that photo. I think it looks great. If you were thinking of adding a little more to that, oh, I messed it up. Okay. Then you can add some of my light effects, and I was thinking maybe adding star number 4 here on top, and again I need to change my blending mode to screen. And I'm going to put it just a little outside of my frame just to create a little like a light falling from the top. I like to see like kind of a source of that highlight on his hair, so I can add a little bit of that. And right now I wanted to show you how all those overlays that I added changed the photo from the beginning. So what I had at the beginning was that, and after adding a couple of my overlays from my website, this is what we get. So I hope you liked it. And the last photo that I wanted to show you is this one, which was actually taken during the filming of my online workshop, which is called Lightroom Story. And in that workshop, you will find everything that I do and say during a one-to-one or a group workshop, and you will see me talking about all the stuff that is important for me, such as light, composition, color, and equipment settings, some techniques that I use. You will see that all in a formal presentation where I talk about everything, show you examples, and you can learn at home from me. And then you can see whole footage of family session. And this photo was actually taken during that workshop, and you can see me shooting that, and you can see all the settings that I used and the light that I used for this photo, which is actually a very, very simple setup. And in the end, you can see all the editing that I did for all of the photos from that session. So it's actually altogether is around like 8 hours of videos, a lot of learning for you. And so you can go to my website and purchase that, and I think that's the quality and the value of a one-to-one workshop with me. So if you like my photos and if you want to know how I do everything from the beginning right to the end, it's all there. For this photo, like I have the idea of the boy kind of holding like a light in his hands, and I thought that it would be really nice to have a little bit of those bokeh lights in the background, because the background seemed a little like dark and dull and nothing was going on over there. So let's add some of those bokeh lights from my website to the background. Which one would be the best? I think this one should look nice. Okay, let's make it a little bigger. And in this case, I want me to change the color, because I think this is the same tone of blue as in the rest of the photo, so it's not very different. It doesn't look like it was not in the picture, so it's fine. So I think it's the easiest thing that I'm going to show you. You can always mix and add one and another one, and then layer them one on top of another. You can change the size, and I think they should look fine all together. So because they were taken with one camera, with one lens, they should not be very different. Alright, you can move it around. You can also use a layer mask and remove some that you think are unnecessary, especially that sometimes when you see like a part of it or not like full light, then you can remove if you don't like it. Okay, and that's it for Photoshop bokeh lights, and it's the time to show you how I do it in Lightroom, because sometimes if I'm editing only in Lightroom, this is what I do. If you haven't seen my videos, that you probably don't know, but I actually edit in Lightroom most of the time, and sometimes just at the end I go to Photoshop to add some overlays maybe to, sometimes I combine images, like if I want to add a sky or something, that I do in Photoshop, but like 90% of the work, so all the things with color, sharpness, sometimes even combining photos, but like majority of my work is done in Lightroom. And sometimes I don't go to Photoshop to add anything, and I just want to have like 2 or 3 bokeh lights somewhere in the background to kind of show that it was actually evening a little later in the day than it actually was, or like even if I was shooting in the evening, there were no bokeh lights in the background, and it usually adds a little bit more dimension and sometimes like a charm to the photo. So if I want to do it in Lightroom and I don't want to go to Photoshop, what I do, I add them in Lightroom. So I go to create a radial filter, and I just drag and like draw a little circle. And you have to be aware of the fact that bokeh lights are not always circles. Let me show you on one of those overlays. That I'll show you on this one here. That the ones actually that are on the sides of the photo are not circles. Those are more like ovals, or some kind of like an oval shape or something. But the ones in the middle are more round. So if you're adding anything to your photo, just beware of that those, like if you're adding that as an overlay in Photoshop, make sure that this part, like this round oval one, is not in the center of your shot. That won't look natural. And if you're adding anything over here, if you're adding that on the side of your shot, that should also not be quite round. I mean, it can be round, but not always. Just like kind of try to think about this when you're adding that. So what I do, I change my feather to quite small one. It doesn't have to be 0, it can be like 8 or something. The edge of it can be a little softer. And then I add some exposure and move the dehaze down, and then I can add some color in here. All right, so I'm happy with the effect. What I sometimes do to kind of show that it's a bokeh light, it's not accidental, I don't know, dot that I created, I can use a brush and now start, I'll paint something like light cone underneath to kind of show like, this is a light, and it's actually making whatever it's around it a little brighter. It doesn't, not necessarily always works, but sometimes it will make this light a little more, I don't know, believable that it was actually there. So that's just a tip for you. If you're adding something, make sure that it looks natural, and think about what it is and how that would actually affect the sides, like what that would affect, because that would not affect hair as much, like it would not brighten hair or clothes, but that would brighten something in the background because it's like far away in the background. Yeah, and I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say about bokeh lights in your shots, and I hope that you liked the video, and I hope to see you again. Please remember to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell if you want to see more of my videos. You can comment down below, you can click the sign if you like the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!